Any final messages?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What you think about this?
I think there's a reason why we have borders. Every country has a right to decide who comes in and who doesn't. And I support legal immigration. It's got to come through the front door. It's like when I have a house, I decide who comes into my house. If somebody climbs in my back window, I decide if they leave. I kind of look at it the same way. What do you think?
So when white people go to Mexico, Mexicans cannot do the same thing they are doing.
I don't know anyone that broke into Mexico. If you go illegally into Mexico, they'll deport you.
No, they don't.
They do.
Because when y'all go over there,
You can't fly an American flag and protest Mexico in Mexico. You'll get deported. Do you think you should be able to fly a foreign flag in America?
What do you mean?
Like at the protests we see out there, they're flying the Mexican flag. They're burning the American flag and flying the Mexican flag. You think that's okay?
But if I really got to be honest, military people, when they went to Honduras, they did the same thing. And nobody could say
Look, I don't think you should be able to go into any country without authorization. America, Mexico, Honduras, anywhere. Just follow the law.
In June of 2025, the United States carried out 209 deportation flights, the highest monthly total since ICE Air began operations in 2020. Data compiled by Thomas Cartwright and published by El País shows a 54% increase over the previous 6-month average. That's nearly 7 flights per day, covering destinations in Central America, South America, and Africa. A chart prepared by Cartwright highlights how June spikes surpassed all monthly totals since 2020. According to Cartwright, the surge began mid-May following internal meetings led by Stephen Miller, Trump's top immigration advisor. Soon after, ICE agents expanded workplace operations and began making mass arrests in parking lots and job sites nationwide. According to migrantinsider.com, more than 60% of June's flights went to just 4 countries. Guatemala received 51 flights, Honduras 43, El Salvador 22, and 17 flights went to Mexico. Another 29 flights went to South America, including Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, Argentina, and Chile. According to migrantinsider.com, at least 10 deportation flights in June were carried out using military aircraft. 7 of those occurred on June 29th alone, with confirmed destinations including Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Peru, and Haiti.
And a Homeland Security official telling me that on Thursday afternoon, there you see the image, they did send a flight to Guatemala. These, I'm told, are about 75 to 80 Guatemalans. I want to point out here, you see that they are handcuffed. The way that they are lined up and handcuffed is in line with the way that Immigration and Customs Enforcement would board a deportation flight. But what is striking here, of course, and what is notable is the military aircraft. That is what is different about this photo. And again, this is part of the Trump administration's plans to use Pentagon resources and Pentagon assets to deport migrants back to their origin country.
Just weeks after the June record, Congress passed Public Law 119-21, also known as Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. Vice President J.D. Vance cast the tie-breaking vote. The law allocates more than $170 billion to immigration enforcement, with $14 billion set aside for ICE deportation flight operations. With the Big Beautiful Bill passed, ICE Air now has a bigger budget to contract planes through CSI Aviation and lease more Boeing 737 jets from Avelo Airlines. The administration is pushing toward more than 1,000 monthly flights with the goal of carrying out 1 million deportations per year. The first deportation flight to Venezuela landed on February 10, 2025. Nearly 200 people were aboard. It marked the start of a renewed removal program targeting Venezuelans who had a criminal record in the U.S. But that flight was just the start. On March 14th, President Trump issued Proclamation 10,903, invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport certain non-citizens to Venezuela, alleged to be associated with the Tren de Aragua gang. The Tren de Aragua gang first emerged in Venezuela around mid-2000s within a local railway union, before exploding into national organized crime by 2014. As the Venezuelan economy crumbled due to political corruption and authoritarian rule under Nicolas Maduro, experts believe roughly 800,000 Venezuelans made their way to the U.S., with a very small minority being affiliated with the gang. Trump later doubled down by stripping temporary protected status, or TPS, from Venezuelans living in the U.S., a move that sent shockwaves through immigrant communities. TPS had allowed over 240,000 Venezuelans to live and work legally in the U.S. But with the termination of TPS, almost 250,000 Venezuelan migrants became targets for removal. On June 23, 2025, the U.S. Supreme Court issued an order allowing the federal government to resume deportations to third countries, even when illegal migrants have no prior connection to those nations. The decision cleared the way for ICE to deport individuals to third countries under existing removal orders without providing advance notice or any opportunity for illegal migrants to contest their removal.
The U.S. has asked Nigeria to take in 300 Venezuelan deportees. Nigeria said no. Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuga said, "We've got our own problems. 230 million people is enough." This came just days after the US downgraded visas for 4 African countries, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Ethiopia, limiting them to single entry and just 3 months validity. But Nigeria isn't alone. The US had reportedly quietly approached over 30 African countries to take deportees, even if they're not their citizens. And while Trump smiled for the cameras with African leaders in the meeting held at the White House this week, behind the scenes, his team was reportedly asking them to take deportees. Internal US memos show the plan, asking countries to agree to the safe, dignified, and timely transfer of migrants from the US, and then not sending them back until US courts make a final asylum decision. Sources say this was priority number 1 in the meeting at the White House this week, with Mauritania, Senegal, Liberia, Guinea-Bissau, and Gabon. Nigeria is the first to publicly say no, but with visas and trade deals on the table, who's the next to fold?
The United States government just deported 8 men to South Sudan, most of whom have never stepped foot in that country. And on the week of South Sudanese independence, some perspective. Last March, the United States revoked visas for South Sudanese migrants here in this country and those trying to come to the United States. Because what happened was the United States actually deported someone to South Sudan who wasn't from South Sudan. They were from Congo. When South Sudanese officials said, "Hey, that's not one of our guys, like we can't just accept this person," the United States said, "Well, wait a minute, you're not accepting people? Okay, well, in that case, we're going to revoke visas from all South Sudanese people who are in the United States right now." That put a lot of people in a very tough position, some of whom just got drafted in the NBA. And so all of that took place. And since then, South Sudan has been trying to do whatever they can to play nice with the United States. They took in that one person that was from the Congo, and now they're taking in 8 people who have been convicted of crimes here in the United States. Again, more perspective. South Sudan has been recovering from war for years. The United States has even said they don't think that it's safe. And yet they're sending people, even though they've been convicted of crimes, they're sending those folks to a place that they don't think is safe.
These deportations to South Sudan sparked outrage across social media, with content creators voicing concerns over where these individuals were being sent.
In a new Supreme Court ruling, Donald Trump is able to deport Southeast Asian refugees to South Sudan. Back in May, 8 individuals were deported to South Sudan, and it included individuals from Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam. This is extremely alarming because South Sudan is currently experiencing the aftermath of a civil war that happened not too long. Many of the Southeast Asian immigrants that are here in the United States today is because of the war, violence, and displacement they experienced back in Southeast Asia. And in general, we should not be deporting immigrants to a third country that they have no significant ties.
Following the Supreme Court's ruling, 5 individuals were also deported to Eswatini in South Africa, under the third country removal policy that permits as little as 6 hours notice before deportation. This expedited process was confirmed by an ICE internal guidance report by Reuters. As Immigration and Customs Enforcement pushes to meet its new quota of 3,000 arrests per day, agents are expanding their operations beyond traditional hotspots. That means pretty much anywhere is fair game now. People can get picked up anywhere from a traffic stop to a library as long as they're suspected of being illegal alien.
Not only are we focused on those individuals that are, working here illegally, we're focused on these American companies that are actually exploiting these laborers. These people that came here for a better life, either, forced labor, child trafficking. A lot of these worksite cases just isn't a victimless crime of someone here working illegally. And that's why we're going there with these criminal warrants to focus on these American businesses.
ICE immigration crackdown and deportation flights are showing no signs of slowing down, even as public outrage and resistance from communities across the country grow louder. The Trump administration is still pushing for 3,000 daily arrests. Most deportation flights are operated using planes like the Boeing 737 or 757, which typically carry 120 to 180 people depending on the configuration. That means if the ICE agents are able to hit the target of 3,000 arrests each day, the US could be deporting enough people to fill 15 commercial jets daily, basically a small airport's worth of outbound flights every single day.
My mom just got deported. My mom just got deported. It's so not fair. She's literally not a criminal. Like, she's literally just paid her taxes. She's literally just...